Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Estate Agency Entrepreneurs, and today I'm with the one and only Dean Coleman. Welcome to Hitchin, Dean.
Thank you for having me.
Have you found it, centre of the universe?
Yeah, I can see probably why they call it centre of the universe. It's lovely villages I've drove through, so yeah, it'd be nice to sell some houses down here, to be honest with you.
Yes, yeah, average fee's pretty good.
I bet it is.
Good. I ask everyone that question and everyone has the same answer. They're not really
I wonder why it's the centre of the universe though.
Because I live here.
Oh, is it right?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone's town is the centre of their own universe.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So that's the thing. But anyway, before we get into, we might get into stuff like that about how you've operated in your area. But I guess first question, tell us about yourself, your background, your history before EXP.
So I've been an estate agent for 19 years now. Started at a corporate estate agency, Dixon's, in 2005, and I was there for a couple of years, so it was a great place to sort of, I guess, hone my skills in estate agency, working with different managers and just experiencing that sort of corporate, quite rigid structure with all the targets, etc. And then I've sort of gone through different estate agents, really, sort of flip-flop from one estate agent to the next, trying to find my feet, I guess. But I did have a break in estate agency for about 18 months, and I went into banking. And if people out there thought estate agents were bad, wait till they get into banking.
What sort of banking was that?
Just normal sort of high street banking.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I worked for a bank for a short while, about 18 months. And yeah, some of the things you see and some of the things you targeted and what you targeted is a bit like, steady on.
I had a 3-month break from estate agency, went to banking, but I was a loan shark.
Oh, was you a loan shark?
When I was about 23, 24, it was the worst 3 months of my life, probably.
Yeah, this was the worst I got out of estate agency because I just lost the love of it.
Yeah.
It was literally ripped from me. I just hated it. I think I was partly because of where I was working, who I was working with and all that.
Was that at the corporate or an independent?
No, an independent,
Okay.
which was virtually corporate, which is quite a funny thing because a lot of the independents that I know and who I've worked for sort of come at it from a family-friendly, we're independent, but they're run by ex-corporate people that still have that corporate mindset and mentality, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. When you pull back the curtain, there's obviously, it's corporate mentality, it's corporate culture, but dressed up as a independent. So,
and what is it you don't like about? What was it you didn't like about that, or maybe probably still don't like about that kind of?
I suppose it was sort of, it's all the terminologies that sort of literally give me nightmares at night. Things like you're only good as your last week, and it's all that sort of stuff, them sayings. I think it's the rigidness and the cutthroatness of it. You quickly, as soon as you're in, you can quickly be out the door again. There's very little second chances. I remember smashing a target one month, the next month it was 25-30% under target, and if that happens again, you put on a straight away verbal warning. And I'm like, hold on, there was no warmth, and I speak to a lot of people in corporate, and they absolutely love it, and I get it, there is something for everybody, but for me it just wasn't like that. There was no pulling to one side, getting to know a little bit more about me, why I haven't hit the targets I've hit, rather than just go straight into the data and the stats, if you like. If you would have done 5 more viewings, you would have got 1 more offer, which would have resulted 2 more offers, which would result in the same. Like, I get all that, but find out a little bit more as to why I'm not probably performing. It was never personal, it was always business, and it was that sort of non-personable sort of touch, if you like.
And how that must have, going into detail on corporates versus independents versus whatever, but we're probably jumping ahead, but how does that impact the customer? That's the bit for me that always...
Pressure. I think it's pressure. I'm not a pressure salesperson. I never have been. I think from the very, from the off, when I started Dixon's in corporate, it was pressurised. Ask for the offer there and then. There's an element of, okay, I get why you asked for the offer, but there was so much pressure behind it, and I think you make people do things that they don't necessarily want to do. And then ultimately that can lead to regret, and you start taking someone down a path that I think anyone with a bit of a heart would feel guilty about doing, and it just always used to fill me with guilt. I used to try and make someone buy a property that I don't necessarily think was right for them, and I was just being made to do that by hierarchy with targets and things like that. So I think it adds a pressure that is unnecessary.
It doesn't benefit the customer.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. You're pressurising people into referrals and things like that, and you kind of know really it's not good for them, but you have to hit your own target. So yeah.
So Dixon's countrywide, then you did an independent.
I went to an independent. It was a newly formed estate agent, so I went and helped set that up. That was a great learning experience because it was getting to know the sort of bit more inner workings of estate agency from the ground up. A new estate agency that was created, and how it all works in the background. Profits and loss and things like that. So it opened my eyes up a little bit more. And then I had a break, and then I went back into estate agency with an independent. That was amazing. Absolutely loved it. I'll give a shout out to it. They were Wolves. They were taken over by a corporate. I went to work for Wolves. They had a Harborne and a city centre branch. And Sam Meaton, who was my manager at the time, it was just brilliant. It clicked. He was fantastic. He